Castle Crashers is a game I've been wanting to make a video about for a long time now. Ever since I started this channel, really. Why, you ask? Because Castle Crashers is honestly one of my favorite games of all time. Castle Crashers is a 2D side-scrolling hack-and-slash game released in 2008 for the Xbox Live Arcade. It eventually saw ports to other consoles such as the PlayStation 3, Steam, as well as a remaster in 2015 that saw a release on all modern platforms. The game was developed by The Behemoth, an indie studio that at the time was known for their work on their last game, Alien Hominid. Their history all started with the simple Flash game uploaded to Newgrounds.com in 2002 called Alien Hominid that was made by two people, Tom Fulp and Dan Paladin. In Alien Hominid, you play as this yellow alien as you run and gun through different stages and defeat FBI agents that are trying to kill you. It became very popular for the fun gameplay and charming art style, even surpassing 20 million plays on the Newgrounds website. Later that year, one of Paladin's co-workers approached him with the idea of making Alien Hominid into a full console game. Paladin and Fulp eventually agreed, and went to form the Behemoth in 2003 as well as recruit new members. The console version of Alien Hominid was released in November of 2004 for the GameCube and PlayStation 2, and it was met with all-around good review scores. It even saw a Game Boy Advance version, which is just as compressed as the music in the Nocturne HD remaster. Seriously, Atlas, the soundtrack is on YouTube! YouTube! Now let me tell you, Alien Hominid is a great time. I'll save most of my in-depth thoughts for a possible review in the future, but to keep it brief, it's really fun, the art style is very unique, and the game has a good sense of humor. The Behemoth would go on to release multiple other games after Alien Hominid, such as Castle Crashers in 2008, which is the subject of this video.
Well, no fucking shit!
Battle Block Theater in 2013, a 2D puzzle platformer, and Pit People in 2018, an RPG. Last year, the Behemoth announced the next game they're working on, which is actually a sequel to Alien Hominid called Alien Hominid Invasion. Back in September of 2020, there was a limited time demo that I got to play, and trust me, it's looking to be another awesome game so far. I'm really hyped for its release. Honestly, the Behemoth is probably one of my favorite game studios. Their games always set out to make really fun and memorable games with amazing, unique art styles and a good sense of humor. I highly recommend checking out all their other games if you ever get the chance, especially Castle Crashers, which is what I'll be talking about in this review. Anyways, that's enough of me gushing about how awesome the Behemoth is. Let's get to gushing about how awesome Castle Crashers is, one of my favorite games. In Castle Crashers, you take control of one of the four knights, each controlling their own respective elements. The green knight controls poison, the blue knight controls ice, the red knight controls electricity, okay, and the orange knight controls fire. One day, all the knights are just vibing in their home castle until the dark wizard steals the king's crystal, which I guess gives the castle power? I don't know, it's never clear what purpose the crystal serves, kind of like the power source in Mario 64, but it doesn't really matter. And they also steal the four princesses, so you have to set out and journey through the land to take back the crystal and rescue the four princesses, slaughtering all the barbarians, thieves, pirate ninjas, and literal catfishes you'll find on your way. Get it? It's like a cat and a fish, so like catfish? Okay, I'll stop now. The story here is kept very simple, which I think is a good thing, since it lets the gameplay truly shine, which really is the main focus of this game. Plus, it adds to the atmosphere of the game, with it being so bare bones, showing they really aren't taking themselves too seriously. Despite the story being pretty simple, the sure is an adventure alright. You'll travel through many different locations, which I'll discuss later, as well as meet some other characters that includes both friends and foes. They don't add anything to the overall story. It's still just go stop funny wizard guy and kiss the princesses, and keep Caber's filthy hands off him. Yeah, you stay dead, motherfucker! But overall, all the set pieces and foes you encounter along the way are definitely welcome, keeping you entertained with more than just the gameplay. But you know what else is entertaining about Castle Crashers besides its gameplay? One of the first things that grabs most people to this game is the art style made by Dan Paladin. Similar to their previous game, Alien Hominid, the cartoony hand-drawn art here is very reminiscent of early Newgrounds animation / Flash games, which does kind of make sense since their game was an early Newgrounds Flash game. And besides that, the art is so beautiful in its own right. A lot of the character designs look really awesome as well, especially the Necromancer guy. You know, I actually had this really cool looking Necromancer figurine once, but I guess it was lost when my house got damaged by Hurricane Laura. I don't know, I haven't seen it in years. All of the characters and bosses look really great in this game's art style. A detail I really like is the over-exaggerated facial expressions the characters make after getting hit, which Tom Fulp has said in interviews that it was inspired by the facial expression seen in River City Ransom. And what's even cooler about the presentation is all the environments you go through on your adventure to stop the evil wizard. I said earlier how all the locations are distinct from each other, and I really meant every level in this game is really easy to identify from each other because of how vast the variety of level themes are. In Castle Crashers, you go through a battlefield with barbarians and knights, a forest with thieves, shitting animals and these trolls, a river with rocks to avoid and objects to ride battle to not drown, a grassy field in the rain with bears, a church as you crash this guy's wedding who's trying to marry one of the princesses, and not even get to pursue them in this awesome parade, a cave-like fortress belonging to the best friend of the person you murdered, a volcano land, an industrial castle with tons of machines and other obstacles, a pirate ship with pirate ninjas that attack you, a desert that has a castle where you play volleyball, an alien ship that's actually one huge reference to Alien Hominid, and you even unlock the alien after beating the level, but he's not that good, and that's besides the point. A swamp with a literal corn boss to fight, a temple home to Medusa who has a nice ass, a rocky mountain in the midnight sky, a snow-themed land with the whole ass ice castle, and finally cap off the game with the evil wizard's castle. You see what I mean by all the locations are so distinct from each other? Even ignoring the fact that I've literally beaten this game dozens of times, all the set pieces are really memorable and boost the overall quality of the game by a lot. Oh, and by the way, this game's soundtrack is some great stuff. The Behemoth got a lot of artists to work on the soundtrack, and as a result, there's a great variety here. All the songs manage to capture the tone of whatever level it's used in perfectly. You have some upbeat music as you travel through the more calm levels. Some faster paced songs represent how you kinda gotta hurry and get to the objective. There's even a heavy piano song blasting in the background as you fight the Conehead Groom, who loves to play on his piano and shoot bombs at you. And the song playing during the Necromancer fight is just so damn good. It fits the atmosphere perfectly since you're up against what is probably the hardest boss of this game. Well, mostly the opening phase, all the beefies. But the room is full of corpses of the many foes you encounter on your journey. The game also has quite a lot of humor added into the adventure. I don't mean this in a negative way, but some of these aspects kind of date the game in a way. Like with all the shitting animals in the Thieves' Forest come off as pretty juvenile. Heck, there's even a deer propelled by its own feces in an abandoned mill. And would you look at that, even on the way at full moon, it's still shitting its guts out. There's also a boss called the Catfish, which is a cat and a fish. Very clever there. So I guess in a way, the catfish being a catfish can be considered catfishing. I think I just had a stroke writing that. I also really love how at the end of Industrial Castle, when the prince is betrayed by the evil wizard, they let you whack him off of the balcony for being the little prick that he is with his annoying ass fingers. An oddly satisfying moment, to be frank. But by far my favorite part in terms of this game humor is where they pull at the very end with the last princess. You see, among the 4 princesses, there's one with purple hair, who for whatever reason her face is never shown. She's always facing the other direction or is obscured by something else. So once you defeat the evil wizard, you get to kiss the last princess, or you get murdered by your friend trying. But once you go to kiss the bride and her face is finally revealed, she turns out to be a fucking clown and starts dancing with penguins and stuff. A very comedic way to end off the journey. The context of this not only being a princess fight, but the last one at that, add to the shock a lot more. Like imagine playing through this game with your friends and being the only one who never managed to get to smooch the princesses. Then at the very end, it's your time to shine as you sweat your ass off, or just use a Red Knight's magic. What do you mean it isn't fair? And you're bragging to your friends that you got the last princesses just for it to turn out to be a damn clown? Man, I love this game. Now, believe it or not, this Castle Crashers thing I've been gushing about is an actual game, so why don't we transition into talking about the gameplay? Like I stated in the intro part of this review, Castle Crashers is a 2D side-scrolling hack-and-slash game, meaning the majority of your time spent in this game will be beating the snot out of enemies. You have 2 attacks in this game, a light attack and the heavy attack, with the former specializing in lower but quick damage, and the latter being slower but packs more of a punch. Pretty standard stuff, honestly. You can combine the light and heavy attacks into combos to dish out more damage. But the cool thing about Castle Crashers as combat is that it's a great showcase of the phrase easy to learn but hard to master, since you can go in just mindlessly spamming buttons since the game is relatively easy. Not so much if you're alone on your adventure, but you can also use that big brain of yours and become a pro at spamming buttons. You see, you can also jump if that wasn't obvious enough, which means you can combine the jump and light and heavy attacks into aerial combos, which also means with the right combinations you can keep enemies up in the air trapped in your deadly combos, which is known as juggling. Juggling is extremely useful in combat since not only can you trap enemies in a juggle they can't counterattack, but other enemies not caught up in your juggle will have a harder time attacking you since you're airborne. For anybody wondering, the best combo for juggling, in my opinion at least, is definitely the XXYY combo. It may take some time to get used to the rhythm of the juggling, but it's incredibly satisfying to pull off, especially with that crunchy sound landing a hit makes. And once you get to insane mode, it's damn near required, but I'll talk more of that later. Oh yeah, you can also block attacks with the left trigger that can be real useful in certain bosses, and if you time your block just right, you can perform a parry move which knocks the enemy back. And god, can the Necromancer stop spamming the block? And how does he even block? I'm trapping him in a combo! But I still haven't even mentioned the coolest part of the combat in this game, and that's the magic magic attack. By holding down the right trigger and pressing certain buttons, you can use the magic spells which are all unique to whatever character you're playing as, most of the time at least. For example, to harken back to the four knights' respective elements, the red knight can electrocute enemies, making them completely defenseless once you trap them in your lightning. And god, it's so satisfying to electrocute like 5 enemies at once. The blue knight can freeze enemies, rendering them stationary for a short bit. The green knight can poison enemies, which makes them slowly lose health for a little while. And the orange knight can burn enemies, which behaves similar to the green knight's magic. Not all magic has its own element. Sometimes it can do something unique like healing or stunning enemies with rainbows, or sometimes it's just something that can knock enemies back that's non-elemental. Using magic spells does actually cost chunks of your magic bar next to your character icon that can regenerate over time when you're not executing more spells. The magic is one of my favorite parts of Castle Crasher since it makes every character feel fresh, which is important when there's a plethora of them to unlock. But once you start to level up your magic, it's super satisfying to shred enemies and bosses with it. I'm looking at you, Industrialist. This guy's magic has these saw blades that can come up from the ground and shred bosses to pieces. It's devastating, really. And he's my personal favorite character right next to the Orange Knight, since that guy's magic isn't as rapid as Industrialist, but can also ignite enemies, which can be really effective. So in conclusion, the combat in Castle Crashers is extremely fun whether you're a newbie or a professional at it. That and all the unique forms of magic are why I've come back and replayed this game so many damn times. On the world map, you can also find some stores where you can exchange the gold you get from slaughtering enemies to buy items such as potions, and I'm just joking. Stores can sell some other items such as bombs that can knock enemies back plus do a lot of damage, as well as sandwiches, which can temporarily transform into a really muscular version of yourself that does a lot of damage but it doesn't last very long. You can also find weapons and animal orbs at stores, which I'll talk about later, but the best thing you can buy here are potions. You can hold up to a maximum of 5 of these babies. Each one will restore you to full health, and yeah, I think you already see why these are the best things you can buy at these stores. You can also find a few items along your adventure to aid you. Some are store related like the horn you get from the corn boss, but some of the others include the bow and arrow, which you can find from enemies that wield it, a shovel that you unlock in the desert that can be used to dig up treasures marked by a slight X on the ground, along with this boomerang that can stun enemies for a short period of time and is actually really funny to use in PvP. Castle Crashers also has a lot of RPG elements in this game. From beating up enemies, you can earn XP, and once you reach a certain amount, you can level up. And the more you level up, you can unlock new combos to use. Leveling up can restore your health completely, which can be useful so you don't have to spend more potions. But after leaving the level you were just in after leveling up, you're granted 2 stat points that can be used in the stats screen. Here you can choose to use your number of points on whatever stat you wish to increase, each having their own benefit. Strength will increase the amount of damage you dish out. Defense will increase your overall health and you'll take less damage. Agility can improve your speed as well as both the power and speed of your bow and arrow. And lastly, magic will strengthen both the magic spells and the recharge time. And upon reaching certain checkpoints in the stats unit is how you can learn new spells, such as the magic projectile, an alteration of said magic projectile, a magic jump, and whatever the hell this combo is. I love the RPG element at play here, since it lets you transform a character into whatever build you want. If you're not very experienced, you can focus a lot on defense and strength, maybe with a little magic and agility. But if you've already beaten the campaign a few times, maybe you'll be able to get away with a little less strength and defense and focus on your speed and magic spells. This also helps make every run feel different from the rest, since there are so many possible builds you can experiment with. You can focus all your points on one particular stat or increase them all in equal amount. You can become a strong as hell tank that does a lot of damage but is slower than a turtle, or increase only magic and agility as Thief, even when he has some of the worst magic in the game. Fuck you, Caber. Or you can do my personal favorite build, the Mage. This build is about primarily focusing on magic since it can be extremely useful for shredding both enemies and bosses. But what's even better about not focusing on strength is that the XP system in this game actually favors low damage, since you gain XP based on hitting enemies, not the actual amount of vanquishes you get. So this means you can get even more XP from not focusing on strength, which can be used to increase even more stats. There are some other factors that can increase your stats beyond experience points, such as the plethora of weapons you can unlock through various methods, enemy drops, shops, dig spots, etc. Every weapon is different in the stats it buffs or weakens. One weapon may add 2 points to strength and subtract 1 from agility, or a weapon can weaken your overall strength to give you more powerful magic spells. What's cool about the weapons of Castle Crashers is that once you unlock them with one character, they're available for all characters that can be swapped out in the blacksmith. However, each weapon does have a minimum level requirement. There are also these things called animal orbs, which can be found laying around in levels, dig spots, or many other stores. These can give you many different benefits. Some may just simply increase one or more of your stats, usually not at the expense of another, but some can provide other abilities like more XP earned, a higher jump, or maul enemies when they're close to death. Like with all the weapons, once you unlock one, you can use them with any other character, but they don't require you to be a certain level, so if you want to use a really powerful pet as early as the first level, then nothing is stopping you. The animal orbs and weapons are really useful for increasing your stats, since they allow you to shape your character to your intended build without having to use more XP. And all the different builds you can have from stat points and weapons add a lot of replay value to the game, since you can experiment with different playstyles. Like I've hinted at earlier in the video, this game includes multiplayer. Yes, you and up to 3 other buddies can play through the entire game together. In fact, it does kind of feel like the game was designed with multiplayer in mind. Of course, the campaign is entirely possible to do solo, but sometimes with the amount of enemies it throws at you, it feels like they assume you aren't alone. Most of the time in multiplayer, you'll be lost in the chaos to really notice how hectic it can be at times. I can definitely say that this game is way better with playing with a friend, since it just makes it a lot more fun, and of course it does as multiplayer. Having multiple people on your team can also be really useful in the actual game besides just having fun, since each party member can go for a different build. One can focus on attack power and defense, and the other can focus on magic spells. The team dynamic plus the overall experience with all the humor and such lead to playing Castle Crashers with your friend a memorable time. During one of my playthroughs for this video, I was with my 2 friends, Caber and JG. Pretty early in the game, Caber realized that he barely had any gold, so he accused us of stealing all of it, resulting in both me and JG trying to take as much gold as possible from Caber, leading to a lot of funny moments, especially when it was time for the princess fight so we can relieve his personal vendetta. Oh yeah, you know how I mentioned that you get to kiss all the princesses? Yeah, well if you have a friend with you, the game makes you fight to the death for that kiss, which makes the game a lot more memorable in my opinion. Now, normal PvP in the arena and such is already pretty intense, but when there's a princess waiting to be kissed on the battlefield, this is where friends are lost and grudges are settled. Plus, it's really funny that you get to literally fight to the death just for one girl. More of that behemoth charm. So yeah, I think Castle Crashers is a better and more memorable experience with friends. Don't get me wrong, I think the game is still fantastic if you're alone, but going through this adventure with the buddy can lead to a lot of fun memories that you won't forget for a while. Castle Crashers honestly is some of the best replay value I've ever seen in a video game. First of all, the game isn't that long. If you know what you're doing, you can run through the entire game in only about 4 hours, and the combat, which is like 95% of the experience, is a load of fun both to learn and play. First of all, Castle Crashers has an insane amount of playable characters. Just about every human-looking enemy you see is a character you can unlock one way or another, which, like I said earlier, most characters have different types of magic spells, so all the characters you can unlock are distinct from each other. The most common way you'll find you can unlock characters is just by beating the game. For example, beating the game as the Red Knight can unlock the skeleton. In beating the game as the skeleton can unlock the bear. Some you can unlock via the main campaign, such as the Grey Knight or Alien, but some of the others you can unlock by completing the mini arenas you find on the world map. If you have any friends with you, this is just a simple PvP arena, but if you're solo, then you can fight hordes of enemies, and completing one can unlock you a character, which beating the game as that character can unlock another. But by beating the campaign with the character, you unlock a brand new mode called Insane Mode. Insane Mode is a variation of the main story, except all the enemies are up to 10 times stronger with 10 times more health with very few exceptions. This mode is very much intended for experienced players, since pretty early on, enemies will start doing a bunch of damage. However, this also means that you earn a lot more XP from Insane Mode than the normal mode, so it's easier to grind here. For anyone looking for an easy way to grind XP in Castle Crashers, I highly recommend playing Thieves Forest on Insane Mode. Play the level normally until you get to the Troll Mother boss. The interesting part about this boss is that it spawns the troll enemies from earlier on in the level, but they never actually stop spawning, so try your best to not attack the boss and slaughter as many trolls as you can. This can give you a lot of XP, trust me. Now, believe it or not, I'm not much of a fan of Insane Mode. First of all, the insane amount of damage in enemies is the only difference. There's no new enemies or levels, it's all the same campaign you've played before, except really hard. And it doesn't take long for it to get pretty tedious, honestly, since enemies will take forever to kill, even at level 99. Plus, eventually, you won't be able to take a hit like at all, so multiplayer is basically required unless you're a god at the combat. The only actual difference in Insane Mode is that shops can contain different weapons and pets, but besides that, it's all the same. You do get some rewards for playing through Insane Mode, though. For the unlockable characters you get from beating specific bosses in Insane Mode, and also in the PS3 version, you got a trophy for doing so, which is removed in the remastered version. Probably for being too hard, I guess. But what's odd is that the last character you get from Insane Mode, you get from the Ice King boss, which isn't even the final boss of the game. Instead, for beating Insane Mode, all you get is a gold skull next to your character that replaces the normal white skull you get from beating the game normally. If I'm being honest with you guys, I've never actually beaten Insane Mode before. That's because I don't feel any incentive to do so. All the characters I can unlock by just getting a friend who's already got them and take me to the level. And I just don't have the patience to sit through all of Insane Mode because of how tedious it is and it's so unforgiving. Believe it or not, I'm not done talking about Castle Crashers just yet. There are also some little side game modes to play outside of the main game. First, you have the arena. This is just your basic PvP game mode where you can fight against other people and stuff. But there are some mini games here. What's interesting is that all 3 different mini games in Castle Crashers all belong to a different version of the game. In the Xbox Live Arcade version, you have All You Can Quaff. I think I said that right. Where you just mash buttons to eat food and compete against everyone else, and that's pretty much it. Honestly, I'd rather just play a rhythm game that's just mashing buttons, but good music in it. The PlayStation 3 version is volleyball, which is actually pretty different from the volleyball in the main campaign. Like with All You Can Quaff, it's alright I guess, but I very much wouldn't consider myself president of the Castle Crashers volleyball fan club. But the remastered versions, which are all on modern consoles, all have one new minigame called Back Off Barbarian. All you need to know about Back Off Barbarian is that it's shit. Basically, you're put on this board where you have to push different buttons to move around and avoid the enemies that are trying to kill you by stomping on you. It probably looks really confusing at first since there are all these arrows and stuff, but you can just use the left stick and push in the corresponding direction to move. And the colors also correspond to the Xbox controller face button, so you can use those if you're familiar with them. Yeah, this one is just alright. The only reason I can see why you want to go and play it is because you get an achievement for surviving for 2.5 minutes, which, trust me, is a pain in the ass to get, but you already know your boy got the platinum trophy! Not on PS3 though, since it requires you to be insane mode. Look, I'm still cool, okay? In conclusion, I still think Castle Crashers is an absolute classic. Everything about this game is just so awesome to me. The art style, the gameplay, the soundtrack, the characters, and the replay value. All of these reasons are why Castle Crashers is one of my favorite games. I highly recommend you all go try it out now. The remastered version is on all modern consoles, and it goes on sale on Steam a lot, and when it does, it's super cheap. And even then, $15 is a very affordable price for this game. Overall, Castle Crashers was a critical and commercial success for the behemoth, becoming the best-selling Xbox Live Arcade game in 2008, and it sold more than 2.6 million copies in the Xbox Live Arcade alone by 2011. The behemoth would stay strong after Castle Crashers, releasing more games such as Battle Block Theater, Pit People, and now Alien Hominid Invasion. I'd love to get to reviewing all their other games one day since they're all amazing, but probably not anytime soon. To me, Castle Crashers will always be done in history as a hack and slash masterpiece. Hello. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you for sticking to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I certainly had fun making this video because Castle Crashers, I am really passionate about it. It seriously is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've been dying to make a video about this game ever since I started this channel. Now that I finished all the Sonic videos, I thought now was a good chance. Oh, and you may have noticed that the thumbnail looks different here than the rest of my videos. That's because I didn't make it. My friend Repulsive did. He's probably gonna be making the thumbnails for the rest of my videos now, honestly. He's pretty good at making thumbnails. He made all the thumbnails for the Sonic videos, in case you couldn't tell, since, you know, they were really good. I linked his stuff in the description of those, and I'll link it here. You can go follow him on Twitter. You know, he's a pretty cool guy. He's funny, most of the time at least, right, Repulsive? So yeah, you can go show him some support, and I'm glad to have somebody to make thumbnails now, because I mean, yeah, it's definitely better than mine. I could admit that. Now, regarding my next project for this channel, it's definitely going to be on the longer side. The game I'm going to be looking at is actually, finally, it's Persona 5 Strikers. It's kind of been a long time coming now since it came out already 5 months ago, wow. But yeah, I wanted to make that review, like the second I finished the game a few days after it came out, like on the 22nd or whatever, since I got Digital Deluxe and all that. But I guess I kind of just put it on hold because, well, I don't know, I didn't really know if I was ready or not because, you know, it came out around the time I was still, like, very much getting into the process of making YouTube videos, and I like to think that I've improved a decent amount since then. So yeah, I've kind of put it on hold, but now that I am finally getting around to making it, it will probably be a lot better than how it would be back then. So yeah, look forward to that. It's probably going to be done in, I'd say, maybe a few weeks. I can, like, 99% guarantee you that it's going to be longer than this video because, yeah, I do have a lot to say about Strikers, both in, you know, the story and the gameplay. But yeah, so that's school starts on August 16th, by the way. I kind of want to try and get it done before then because, you know, school keeps me busy a lot, even though it's gonna be like still like the first week and stuff. Yeah, school is gonna keep me pretty busy once that starts, so, you know, the videos are probably gonna slow down a little bit. Hopefully not as much as I was when I started this channel, because, you know, that was still school and stuff. I uploaded really infrequently then compared to now. But yeah, expect that Persona 5 Strikers video in a few weeks. And with all that out of the way and stuff, hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm gonna be signing off now. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Look forward to that Persona 5 Strikers video in a few weeks. It's probably gonna be a long one. Probably not as long as the Last of Us 1 video, but at least in the 30-minute mark, I'd say. But yeah, so I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day, everyone.